All right, we're kind of winding down. I'm going to go ahead and close out a quadro there. So let's go ahead. I'm going to hit the comma key here. I'm going to go to my projects. I'm just going to load up another Dynamesh sphere. There we go. We have X symmetry turned on. We can turn perspective on or off, the floor on or off. It's kind of up to you. Just to orient myself in space, there's my front. And let's go ahead and just start making stuff. And while I'm making things, we're going to go and talk about texturing. But for now, I'm just going to call this video making of ZBrush core something. And because I'm completely unoriginal, what I'm going to do is actually make an Apple core, because I can't think of anything else that would have a core in it. So we're going to go over here to our stroke menu. No, I'm sorry, our transform menu. And we're going to do radial symmetry in the Y. And again, the Y is our up and down. So we discussed this before. We have Z forward, Y up and down, and then X to the left and right. With X symmetry turned on, we can do like faces and stuff. With radial symmetry from the top down, we can do radial symmetry. So I can kind of dig in where the stem's going to go. And I can kind of sculpt in, like so, an apple. And I can crank up the radial count as well if I want to just kind of sculpt in a little bit, or I can crank it down. I can change my Z intensity so I'm not really affecting the surface that much. I can change my clay brush. Whatever's going to work. I'm going to go smooth. And I still have smooth stronger loaded, so if you miss that, it's comma key, brush. There's a smooth stronger in there, so it'll smooth your meshes a little bit stronger in there. And let's change our radial count to like 4, let's say 5. I don't know, I don't really remember what the bottom of an apple looks like, but probably something like this. And then they have like these kind of lumpy areas here. So we'll just kind of do an apple like so. And then it's kind of the same thing for the top, I believe. It's got like a little place for the core. And then we're going to use the clay brush to kind of just lump out just a little bit here, make it a red delicious type apple. And smooth that down. And let's say that looks like an apple. Now if I want to, I can use my pinch brush, which I have assigned to Alt-Y, and I can kind of pinch that down, go back in my standard brush, and just make this a little bit tighter. Now if I want to add a stem, and possibly with the little crusty things that are down here, let's focus on the stem. So I'm going to go ahead and just grab my insert mesh primitives. I'm going to hit M. I'm going to grab a cylinder. I'm going to turn off radial symmetry. I'm going to just do X symmetry here. So activate symmetry, and you can toggle that on and off by tapping X, the X key. No radial, just X symmetry. And if you drag them out here, you're going to have two stems. I'm going to drag straight where they both meet, drag it out, and then drag it back to kind of thin that out. And now we've got a stem in there. I'm going to go to my subtool here. We're going to do a split, unmask points. We can alt tap that stem, and now we have a stem we can go in here and kind of arrange. And already it's a pretty sweet stem. I'm going to smooth the bottom here. I'm going to go into solo mode, and it's kind of a long stem. That's okay. We're not going to render that part. And if you want to, instead of going into solo mode, you can turn on transparency. Now, here's a good one. So with transparency on, I can't sculpt through the object. I can sculpt object where it's visible, like so, but I can't sculpt through the object. If I turn on ghost, now you can sculpt through the object and still see the object. So that's the difference between transparency and ghost, other than how they look rendered. So I've got my move brush here, and we'll go ahead and just kind of make our stem like so. Let's go ahead and add a leaf as well. How do we want to add a leaf? Let's do insert mesh primitives. We're going to go M cube. We'll drag a cube out, and I'm going to hit X to toggle off X symmetry here. And I'm just going to drag a cube out here and turn off transparency. We'll go ahead and do another split unmask points, alt tap the cube, use my transpose. So if I hit W once, you're going to get this kind of transpose. I'm going to hit transpose again so I can get this type of transpose, just turning the gizmo off. Hold down shift and just constrain that to do a non-uniform scale. And I'm going to control drag to Dynamesh that, because originally, and I can do that with the stem as well, like I mentioned before in the Dynamesh videos, because this original object had Dynamesh turned on with a resolution of 128, all your inserted meshes will inherit that property. So now how do I get this into a leaf shape? In Big Brother ZBrush, I would use clipping to do that. In ZBrush Core, what I'm going to do is do mask pin. I'm going to change the stroke to lasso. Or I can do hold down Control Shift. We'll just do select lasso, and let's see if this will work. I'm going to hold down Alt, and I'm just going to delete these areas into a leaf shape. I'm going to do a geometry modify topology, delete hidden, and then Control drag to Dynamesh that. And on the same size, on the same thing here, I'm just going to clip all that out. We'll do another delete hidden, Control drag, and we've got like a leaf shape. We can go ahead and use our move brush to kind of move that out. Smooth that down with holding down shift, and then we'll just use I'm going to go to my stroke menu, lazy mouse. I can hit L to toggle that on and off, but with the lazy radius at 1, it's not doing much. I'm going to crank that up to maybe, say, 18. And we'll just use that to kind of, and I'm also going to crank my Z intensity up. I don't know why it's so low. There we go. So we'll do like a little leaf here. How do leaves look? Now again, if we're sculpting on something thin, and you look around at the back and you try and Dynamesh this, it's going to do some really nasty stuff. So in order to avoid that, I'm going to take my brush menu, click that circle, drag it over here, go to modifiers, auto masking, and turn on backface masking for my clay brush. Now that's not global, so if I switch to my standard brush, it's going to turn it off. So you're going to want to turn that on for anything you're going to end up using, like so. And then I'm going to go into solo mode here, and we'll just kind of scoop this out a little bit. Get a nice looking leaf. Now if this is too low res for you, I'm just going to crank up this resolution to like say 256 and then Dynamesh. And if you want to smooth it, let's see what kind of smooth. We got deformations in here. We don't have a polish by features, but we do have a polish and we do have a smooth. So you can use smooth to just kind of do an overall smooth instead of using your brush, or you can do polish, open circle, close circle. We kind of went over that a little bit. So I'm going to hold down Alt with my standard brush, or I can even do that with my Damien standard brush down here. And just kind of dig in where leaf stuff goes, and then maybe clay brush here, just to kind of get a little bit of detail going, because we're going to end up rendering this. So any kind of detail you can throw in will kind of make it a little bit nicer here. I'm going to go back into my standard brush. And if I want to add a stem to this one, what I'm going to do, instead of just adding a stem, I'm going to go change this mask pin to dot stroke, mask this end out, control tap to invert that, grab my transpose line again, and just use move to kind of pull that out. There we go. So we got a nice little leaf there. I'm going to rotate this around. And you can use the gizmo if you want to. Just tap W twice or turn that icon on, and you can use the gizmo to kind of place this around. Whatever you're used to. Let's go ahead and just plop that right there next to the leaf, or next to the stem, I'm sorry. And I hit Q to go back into draw mode, and what else do we need? So in order for this thing to be seen as a core, and not just an apple, we're going to have to kind of dig into this thing. So let's take a quick look through our brushes here. I hit the comma key, go to brush. Nothing's really jumping out at me. One thing I might try is maybe doing clay buildup and just holding down Alt and just kind of really just kind of digging in, like so. Which I'm sure we'll end up doing, so we can just kind of eat away at the apple here and just Dynamesh as we go and just move that stem out of the way. Another thing you can try and do is Radial Symmetry. So it's already got some Radial Symmetry in here, so we can go in with our transform. We'll do Radial Symmetry with the Y, and let's go ahead and just move our transform menu over here. We'll crank that radial count up, go in with our clay buildup, and just kind of start digging this down. You could give it a shot too, or if you wanted to do your select lasso trick and just kind of eat pieces out. We'll go ahead and turn symmetry off. So you can go in here and you just kind of hold down Alt and just dig a piece out, and then do a modify topology, delete hidden in your geometry menu, and then Dynamesh that together. Or what might work better in this case is going into mask pin, changing that to a lasso stroke, kind of going in here and doing a bite mark, inverting that using transpose line to go in here and just kind of force that back as kind of a surrogate clip brush. You can kind of do that a little bit. So, but I think Radial Symmetry in the Y with clay buildup. And if you ever get where it's getting that Alt message, just Alt tap out and then Alt tap back in, and that should get rid of that. So let's go back in here with my clay buildup here. Holding down Alt, and this will get us to the core. All right, looks like somebody's been kind of chewing on this here. Now we're going to need a way to do pulp and skin. There's going to be a couple different ways we can do that. I think I know several ways to do it in regular ZBrush or ZBrush Prime, but this one's going to be a little bit different. So I'm going to go ahead and take symmetry off. So we're going to break symmetry a little bit just to make it look a little bit more natural. I'm just going to go with my clay brush or my clay buildup, and we'll dig a couple kind of divots out of here. And I'm going to turn my lazy mouse off for the clay buildup. I don't think I need to even my stroke out for that. So we're just going to make it look a little bit more natural. Some of those bite marks that happen. And usually when you're eating an apple, I mean, I also eat this stuff up here, but just to kind of give it that iconic apple core look, I'm going to leave kind of that mushroom kind of hanging look a little bit. And you've got the pulp in here. And I don't want to actually smooth it too much. I want to kind of keep it rough. I want the skin to be smooth because we're going to use that to kind of contrast with the pulpiness of the inside here.